Good morning, everyone. It's Anne-Marie at Cheese Slade, and I'm going to make a quick video. I'm hoping this one's quick. I always say they're going to be quick, and then they never are. But I don't have too much to cover today. Just the top 5 things that you can do to reduce your fluoride exposure. I'm just going to wait a minute till a couple people come on. Oh, there's a couple people already. So, we're going to talk about fluoride today. I am kind of a spreadsheet nerd. Can you guys hear me okay? Just somebody give me a like or a comment. I'm kind of a spreadsheet nerd, and so I like to track everything. And if you saw my video that I made on how to make $1 million, I did it with one spreadsheet. So I made a spreadsheet, and I'm going to make another video that's not going to be in this one. I just wanted to do this to kind of give you guys a heads up and also hear any feedback that you have or any questions. So when I do my video with my fluoride spreadsheet, I'll be able to get feedback from you guys, or include your feedback, sorry. So I did a spreadsheet yesterday, and wow, it was really a lot of math, and it was really complicated because everything for fluoride is like measured in milligrams and liters versus ounces, and we're in America, so we have to look at ounces, so it's just it's complicated, but I think I did a pretty good job, and I'm going to go over that with you guys in another video. I'm going to show you my spreadsheet. And actually, I might just make this spreadsheet available to you guys so that you can use it. It's pretty cool. Like I said, it's not easy to track how much fluoride you're getting in your diet. It's very difficult. You're having to convert from milligrams to liters to ounces and so forth. But once you look at it, it really helps you understand. And really, we should. The United States is one of the only countries that heavily fluoridates our water. We have, I think it's only like 11% of the world. I'm noticing I have a zit. See that? Must be that time of the month. I never get zits. Rarely. Sorry. That's the problem with live streaming. You look at yourself and you're like, oh, I have a zit. So only 11% of the world fluoridates, and the United States, 70% of the United States fluoridates. We're just like crazy with the fluoride here. And because of that, I don't think it's responsible for food manufacturers and the government to not label our food as far as how much fluoride's in it. They've said that a certain amount of fluoride can be toxic to human health. If you take too much fluoride, you could die. Okay, but that's a lot. You'd have to eat a lot of fluoride, a lot of toothpaste. But they do know, according to the World Health Organization, as little as 6 milligrams a day can cause bone loss over a period of time. Now, they weren't measuring for, because that's the thing they look for, is fluorosis, bone loss, cavities, mottled teeth, all that. But they're not really looking for other problems, like hormonal problems that so many of us are facing. So, or acne, or all this kind of stuff that we know fluoride causes. So how much is too much? Fluoride is in a lot of foods. It's in seafood naturally. It's in seawater. It's in mineral water to different amounts, right? But when you're adding it to the drinking water, what the big issue with that, it's not so much whether or not you have it in your water from your tap. It's really an issue about how much are you getting cumulatively, right? Because this is why it's so hard to measure, and this is why they really need to label it. You know, you might be cooking with fluoridated water. You probably are. You might be eating a lot of food that's cooked in fluoridated water. You probably are. So I'm going to talk about the top 5 ways to reduce your exposure. I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule. And I don't think that you should worry about every single little thing. You'll go crazy. But if you can take out the 80%, awesome, right? That's what we're gonna try to do. Like I said, in another video, I'm gonna go over the details of how to do this, and I'm gonna have a spreadsheet. But today, I'm just gonna give you the top line. Oh, I also wanna tell you guys, before I get into it, I'm gonna do an experiment. I'm hoping to start it tonight. It's gotta sit overnight. And this has to do with the cod liver oil. I bought 4 different brands of cod liver oil, and I'm gonna do an experiment. Oh, thank you, Heather. Heather said I look great. Why is it? I bought 4 different brands, and I'm gonna be doing a test, and hopefully, if I can stay up late tonight, I'm supposed to get the last one tonight by 9 p.m. That means I have to stay up till 9. Yes, that is how lame I am. I try to go to bed by 9 o'clock at the latest. But I may just stay up, and maybe in my jammies and my robe, I'll do my beginning part of the experiment. And then we'll do the conclusion. We'll do the big unveiling tomorrow. We're gonna test these cod liver oils. Very excited about that. The nanny's texting me. Okay, so let's get into the fluoride and the top 5 ways to reduce your fluoride. The number 1 way. Should I start with the number 1? Yeah, I'll start with the number 1 way. And then it's funny because it's kind of flipped. Like you would think what everybody thinks is the most important things to reduce are the least important. I wish I could get somebody to text my nanny. She's texting me from Whole Foods and she can't find organic bacon. But I can't jump off this to tell her. She's like, I'm going crazy. I'm live streaming, sorry. All right. It's kind of flipped. It's like everybody thinks toothpaste is number 1. That's the first thing they think of. And then the second thing they think of is the water coming up their tap. So they're like, oh my gosh, I can't afford, spend anywhere from a couple $100s to, $500 on a water purifier. Well, guess what? Those are the least important. Those are the least important things. And I'm going to teach you in today's video these 5 things that you can do. And we're going to start with the 80-20 rule. We're just going to try to get the big ones first. So, the number 1 way to reduce fluoride in your diet, and I've talked about this before, tea and kombucha. Now, if you're not a tea drinker and you're not a kombucha drinker, then good for you. You don't have to worry about it. The problem is what we're looking at with fluoride is you have to look at how many milligrams are in each liter or each kilogram, which is about the same amount. It's about a liter is about 34 ounces. I think in a kilogram is about 35 ounces. So it's about the same, a little more than a quart. How many milligrams of fluoride are in that liter or that kilogram or that quart, right? 4 cups. 8 ounces in a cup, 4 cups in a quart, is basically it. So, tea is really high. It's anywhere from, the lowest I've seen is like 2 milligrams per liter, and the highest I've seen, according to new studies out of Georgia Medical School, 9 milligrams. So, I used to drink 1 or 2 bottles of Honest Tea a day. Now those are 16 ounces each. So I used to drink about a quart of tea a day. Half a quart to a quart. So that could be as much as 18, is that right? Yes. No, that's as much as 9 milligrams a day. Okay? Earlier in the video I said, as much as 6 milligrams can cause bone loss. 6 milligrams a day over a period of time. 10 milligrams, they say, is the upper tolerable limit for adults. Now, we're talking all adults. We're not just talking about women who are 130 pounds. We're talking about men who are 250 pounds, 300 pounds. 10 milligrams a day. So, two bottles of Honest Tea or 2 bottles of GT kombucha, those 16-ounce ones, that's going to put you at potentially 9 milligrams a day. It also depends on how long you steep the tea, how old the tea is, how inexpensive the tea, all these things play into that. So, number one thing, kick the tea. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. You can drink organic coffee. You can drink herbal tea. It's just not worth it. And yes, guys, it is in the tea. It's not in the water. It's in the tea. And I wrote a whole post about this. I'll link to it below after the video. I'm going to answer the questions you have for each topic before I move on to the next one. So this is number one. Tea, if you drank one thing of Honest Tea a day, or I don't want to pick on Honest, right? They're a good tea, they're organic. If you drank 16 ounces of tea a day, which is 2 cups, which is easy to do, I used to do it, that would be, maybe 4 or 5 milligrams a day. You're really coming close to the 6 milligrams, which would be which they start to see bone loss. And again, they're not even talking about thyroid problems, all the other problems that come along with fluoride. So, I'm going to answer your questions. This is number one. The tea, when I did my spreadsheet, I was factoring in 2 cups of tea a day, and I found that it was in the sample diet that I did for that day. I was just playing around. It was worth about 24%, quarter of your total intake of fluoride for the day. So that's a huge amount just from 2 cups of tea. Let me answer your questions and then I'll move on to the next one, number 2. Myrna asks, what about rooibos tea? Rooibos does have fluoride. I've looked. I can't find an amount for it. It's not the same as regular Camellia sinensis tea, which is the plant species for black tea, oolong tea, green tea. All those teas are Camellia sinensis. They all have very high levels of fluoride, anywhere from, like I said, the minimum I've seen was 2 milligrams per liter. And the most that I've seen based on the neuro testing is about 9 milligrams per liter. That's outrageously high. And this is based on newer tests that they're doing, that they can find, they can locate the fluoride, which they weren't able to see it before because it was binding with the aluminum. So rooibos has less, for sure. But to me, I don't know how much it has. I can't find it. I just know that when I Google it, people say it's high in fluoride, but they don't, as though it's a health benefit, but they don't say how much. So I'm not willing to drink tea. I will drink herbal tea. So I recommend organic, ideally organic, mint tea, any kind of chamomile tea, any kind of herbal tea is fine. Rooibos tea I would avoid, and avoid any Camellia sinensis. Susie asked, is the fluoride in the tea naturally occurring? If fluoride is in tea, people have been drinking this for many years, what changed? Well, yes, people have been drinking tea for many years, but people also have had a lot of disease for a lot of years, especially in places where tea is drunk. The example I like to give is, look at the British. They have really bad teeth. They drink the most tea, probably, any developed nation, I would probably guess. I don't look that up, but Austin Powers, think about his teeth. Not all the countries in Great Britain are fluoridated. Scotland is not, only parts of England and parts of Ireland. But yeah, tea is naturally high in fluoride, and again, this is cumulative. If you drink tea that's high in fluoride, and again, some teas are worse than others. There's a study that came out of, it was in the British newspapers first, and they said that the cheap teas, the brick teas, from the older leaves, the stuff that they don't sell first, the younger leaves, when tea plants are older, they absorb more fluoride in the leaves. That's how it works. The roots absorb the fluoride. It goes into the leaves, stores in the leaves, and that way it's like a way to keep the tea plant from being eaten by predators. So the older tea plants have more fluoride. The younger tea plants have less. Again, it's a crapshoot. It's a gamble. You know, for me, it's like, is it really worth it to drink tea? Matcha tea, yeah, that's green tea, so it does. Now think about it. Matcha tea is traditionally from Japan. They eat a ton of iodine there. A lot of iodine. Seaweed on everything, fish broth with every meal. So, you know, they could probably handle more green tea. Of course, they probably don't drink it in great amounts like we do here. They don't sell it by the 16-ounce bottle. Well, maybe they do now. They do now. But they didn't traditionally. All right, so again, this is when you start mixing and matching traditional diets. Oh, let's just drink tons of soy milk, even though nobody ever did that traditionally, you know. So that's tea. Oh, for those of you kombucha lovers out there, if you really love kombucha and you really don't want to give it up, a friend of mine had a really good idea. She said, what if you got a Berkey filter, you know those Berkey water filters that can filter out all the fluoride, the gravity filters, and you used it to filter your kombucha after you made it. You probably do the same thing with tea and make it a tea dispenser. Now I haven't tried it, but I thought that was a brilliant idea if you still want to be able to drink tea. It's just another step. I wouldn't use the same filter for your water that you use for your tea. But I am going to buy a fluoride filter. I've been researching which one to get. And I will be doing experiments. Definitely going to get into some science experiments this fall. And I'll be reporting back. And maybe I could do that. Maybe I can use a Berkey and filter out and see if we can take the fluoride out. Wouldn't that be a bestseller? Wouldn't you buy fluoride-free tea? Somebody should make it. All right. Let's move on to the next one. So that's number one, believe it or not. I'm not even going to talk the fluoride number 5, the one that's the least, you know, well, I don't know. It's hard to say once you get into, it's hard to say because I don't know what you guys are eating every day. But one of the least important ones is the fluoride filter. It's important, especially if you're cooking at home a lot. But in terms of how much it impacts your diet, you can get a lot more traction just with these first couple ones, especially if you're drinking kombucha and tea. All right, number 2, and this is a big one. Now, it may not impact a lot of you because a lot of you are my readers and you don't use this stuff, but a lot of you still do. Number 2 is Teflon. Teflon and aluminum cookware basically is fluoride, putting fluoride into your food. Anywhere up to 3 times increase in fluoride in your food. Now, I went to a conference last week. And please ask me your questions. I'll answer on this one. This is number 2, Teflon. I went to a conference this week. They had free breakfast every morning. It was awesome. But guess what they were cooking all the omelets in? And the eggs and the bacon and everything. Teflon. Everything. And what's not Teflon in a restaurant is aluminum. Guaranteed. They're not going to spend, unless maybe you went to a pretty high, pricey, gourmet kind of restaurant. They might use stainless steel, but even them, I don't think so. I think they almost all use aluminum. And Teflon, it's just become the standard. And so if you're eating out at all, and you're eating food that's cooked, it is going to be increase in fluoride in the food, whatever it was to start with, up to 3 times. The study that I looked at from the 70s showed that aluminum was decreased, but the reason I think they found that, and I don't have proof of this, but I'm pretty sure, is probably because the aluminum was binding with the fluoride so they couldn't see it. That's the same thing that happened with the tea. So say for example you are going to eat something, like maybe you're going to cook up some vegetables and they're just just guess 3 milligrams per kilogram of fluoride. Well, that could increase like up to 9, so the same level as tea, just from cooking it in Teflon or aluminum. So you know, you can get a set of stainless steel. I'll put this in the post. I got a set that I've been using for the last, gosh, over a decade. I got it, I think, at Costco or something, and Wolfgang Puck. It's not an expensive, it wasn't expensive, it was a few $100s for the whole set. So, yeah, you gotta invest some money, but it's worth it. I mean, you know, if you're cooking at home and you're actually adding fluoride to your food, why would you want to do that? You don't. And that's a lot to add. It really does add up. So that one, you know, could be worth, well, it depends how much you're cooking, how much you're eating out. It could be worth like 50% of your fluoride. That, when I did the spreadsheet, my basic diet, my controlled diet of just somebody eating really basic stuff, not trying to eat organic or anything, was about 9 to 10 milligrams of fluoride a day. But when they used Teflon, just to cook one meal with Teflon increased the daily amount to 15. So, and that was just one meal. If you were cooking your other meals, it would go up. Now, I just want to do a caveat here. These are not scientific numbers, and I'm not testing everything with fluoride. I am just trying to get a basic idea. And, you know, we're not trying to be absolutely purist here and figure everything out scientifically. We're just trying to get a basic idea, a rough idea. I want to do this so that I have an idea. What's most important for me to avoid, you know, and what's most important, what are the things I don't need to stress so much about, and just keeping an eye on it, right? All right, so Teflon. Myrna says even stainless steel will leach it. I don't think you have to worry too much about stainless steel. Again, we're doing 80-20 here. We're not trying to be perfect. Yeah, you could go out and buy clay pots that are lead-free. You know, there's things you can do. Cast iron and enamel cast iron. But stainless steel is a really good, affordable option. 80-20 rule. You know, you just don't want to be increasing your fluoride by 3 times. Okay, so what's next? The next one's surprising too. To me it was. A lot of us are trying to eat more vegetables. It's just like those of us trying to drink tea because we think it's healthier than we're drinking green tea instead of coffee, thinking that we're being healthy. Or we're drinking kombucha instead of soda pop. Well, a lot of us are eating more salads, we're eating more vegetables, fruits, and we think, oh, that's so healthy. But in reality, unless it's all organic, it's the pesticides that they spray. You don't just need to worry about GMOs. That's one thing. It's a huge issue. But the other issue is this cryolite, which is a fluoride-based pesticide. So this is number 3. Anything sprayed with cryolite. Now this is everything from grapes, or one of the biggies, grapes and raisins. Good morning. Lettuce, broccoli, kale, cabbage, you name it. So you're making your healthy sauerkraut, thinking, oh gosh, I'm doing eating so healthy, and I'm making a big kale salad or a kale smoothie. Well, if it's not organic, you're gonna get a lot of fluoride. A lot. It could be up to 7 milligrams per kilogram, or per quart, right? We're looking at about 34 ounces. Kale smoothies, probably one of the worst things if it's not organic. Now, hopefully you're buying organic. But if you're not, if you're eating salads just out, that's a huge amount of fluoride. So when I did the spreadsheet, and I'll show you later, I showed that if you could just cut out tea, those 2 cups of tea a day and switch to all organic vegetables and fruits, fruit juices, and wine, even just drinking 1 glass a day, you would cut your fluoride exposure from those 2 sources. You would cut your fluoride exposure by 65%. That's accounted for 65% of the fluoride right there. So, you know, and you know, drinking a liter of fluoridated water a day is only about, it was only less than 10%. It was about 7% of your daily amount. So, because fluoridated water is about 0.7 milligrams per liter. So you can see the numbers really do add up. I'm going to talk about meats, Heather. I'm going to talk about meats next. But even if you just, you know, you can't afford organic meat, you know, say you don't know where to find organic meat, and dairy and all that, you just say, okay, I'm just going to cut it. And you're eating a lot of vegetables, like soup for dinner and salad for lunch. Again, trying to be healthy. If 1 glass of wine I factored in a day, and 1 4-ounce glass of orange juice, just those things, if you were to switch to organic, would massively reduce your fluoride intake. Okay, so the next one is the rest of the stuff, right? So number 4 is all the other stuff you're eating that's not organic. And I would say, and the biggest one in this subset is making bone broth. If you're making bone broth, or another one is canned fish. They have a lot of fluoride. Any kind of fish has fluoride, but canned fish that has the bones has the most. The reason for this is because fluoride is stored in our bones. And the reason why it's so important to watch our intake of fluoride is because the half-life of fluoride is 20 years. What that means is if you stopped eating all fluoride right now, because you have a lot of symptoms of fluoride exposure and poisoning, if you stopped eating it all right now, 20 years from now, you'd still have half of it in your body. 20 years from now, you'd still have half of it in your bones, stored in your bones. The other thing about fluoride is it's displacing the iodine in your thyroid, in your breasts, ovaries, prostate. Iodine is what we need to have, you know, protect us from cancer and all these other things. So fluoride's bad. Now, let me just say this again, because we get so extreme in America. It's all or nothing. It's not about getting rid of all the fluoride. You're always going to take fluoride in. You're always going to eat things with fluoride. You shouldn't stop eating seafood. But the reason why I say eat seafood and don't drink tea is because you're not going to eat 16 ounces of seafood every day. I mean, you might, but most people aren't. And you're not, you know, it's just so easy to gulp down tea. It's so easy to drink a quart of tea every day. Or kombucha. So, don't worry about seafood, but just, in fact, I'd say eat seafood all the time. I wouldn't worry about it, but I would cut down the other sources, the stupid sources, the things like Teflon and tea. There's no point using those things when you don't need to get the extra fluoride. All right, so bone broth is, if it's not organic, you're simmering bones. What's that full of? It's full of fluoride unless they're organic. So, and this is because the animals are fed a lot of the feed. It's heavily sprayed with cryolite, much more than our vegetables are. So this is the number one reason why it's so important to buy organic. And that's why my nanny was texting me earlier. She's trying to find organic bacon. Because we don't want to buy bacon that's not organic, which we have been. Because it's hard to find, right? So there's all the other sources. If now we've already cut out, if we were drinking tea and we're eating a lot of vegetables, now we've cut out 65% of our fluoride. We've cut out the Teflon. We might be up to 70 or 80%. But now, if you want to take it to the next level, and again, it depends on what you're eating. You might be eating meat all day, every day, and lots of dairy and not eating any vegetables. So it really depends on what you're eating. But the next step is to get rid of the non-organic meat and dairy and eggs. You want to buy organic. If you can do pastured, even better. But if you can only find organic, get organic. It should be organic. That's what's going to help you avoid that cryolite. Okay, that's number 4. I'm looking to see any comments. It's so bright out here. Yes, so I talked about meats. Meats are higher, especially meat on the bone. Canned like salmon or sardines, which are cheaper, they're going to have the bones in. They're going to have more fluoride than, you know, say a fillet, salmon fillet or something. You're also going to see more fluoride in, if you buy a whole chicken and it's not organic, it's going to have a lot more fluoride because it has the bones. Baby back ribs, a lot more fluoride than, say, you know, a boneless pork tenderloin. So what else? Oh, the other issue with meat, hot dogs, luncheon meat, chicken nuggets, all that stuff, which a lot of you guys don't eat anymore. That's all mechanically deboned, and it's going to be higher in fluoride. So it doesn't even matter. Like, just for those things, get them organic. Absolutely. There are organic hot dogs, grass-fed. You can buy those. Okay. Number 5. So I talked about meats, talked about dairy, and all the other foods. So just to cover up on this real quick, any kind of processed food that you get, I already talked about restaurant foods are going to be high in fluoride because of what they're cooking the food in, even if it's not organic. Not that you shouldn't go out to restaurants, you should, but then you just want to try to be better most of the time, that you don't go to restaurants, and you don't want to be eating out every day if you can avoid it. The more processed a food is, the more fluoride it has. And so, for example, buying beans that are already cooked and canned, they're going to have fluoride because they're cooking it in fluoridated water, most likely. Soda, even organic, healthy soda is going to be made with fluoridated water, unless you call them and ask them and they specifically say that they filter it out. Most of them don't. So, you know, anything, the more processed it is, plus, are these food manufacturers using Teflon or aluminum? Most likely they are. These are the things you have to think about. And also think about how sick you are. If you have cysts, if you have persistent acne, if you have bone loss, cavities, hormonal problems, then yeah, you want to be more strict about your diet. Until you get better, and then you can slack off a little and not be so strict. Okay. Number 5 is your fluoride filter. Yay, I finally got to that one. See, and toothpaste is not even on the list because it's so not an issue. Now, I do have a caveat for that. Children should not ever have fluoridated toothpaste or fluoride treatments. The reason being, you can use this spreadsheet for them, and you'll see how fast they get fluoride. And guess what? They're only supposed to have a couple milligrams a day. I think it's like 1 point something. Maybe 2 at the most. I have to look it up. It's low for kids. I'll put it on the spreadsheet. So children really need to be protected against fluoride. The opposite of what they say. I would never let my children have fluoride treatments. And never let them have fluoride toothpaste. They're specifically at risk because they tend to swallow the toothpaste. I know I did when I was a kid. Especially that toothpaste tastes so good these days. They just swallow it. And they can get really sick from that, and it's storing in their bones. All right, so let's talk real briefly about fluoride filters. Then if you have any other questions, I'll answer them, and then I'll sign off. And this whole post is going to be up soon, along with the video with the spreadsheet, where I'll show the spreadsheet. There's basically 3 types of fluoride filters, and only 2 of them I've researched. The third one I'm still looking into. The first one is a reverse osmosis filter, which you can get to go under your counter, and they're really affordable. You can get them for anywhere from a couple $100s to maybe $500, $600. I don't remember what we paid for ours, but it was somewhere in there. And when you do the math, you will see how much you'll save over a few years from buying spring water. Even if you have that spring water that's like delivered to your house, you're gonna save a lot of money. I'll do a spreadsheet on this one day too to show you, but it's definitely worth the investment. Again, the liter a day of fluoridated water is going to bring in about 0.7 milligrams of fluoride, so close to 1. That's not insubstantial if you're drinking a liter a day. But then you have to think about all the foods you're cooking. Never, never, never use your regular water to cook your food. You know, cooking potatoes, cooking, you know, all the things you're cooking, steaming or boiling, making soup. All these things are cooking rice, going into the food. So you have to add that up. Reverse osmosis is the number 1. Now it does take out all the minerals. That's not ideal, but I am getting minerals from other sources. We'll talk about that later. There's things you can do like drink mineral water, and there's different ones have different amounts of fluoride, so you have to be careful, but I'll talk about that in my post. There's different things you can do for minerals, but I think it's better to err on the side of safety and do the reverse osmosis because you don't want that fluoride. People ask me about the Brita filters. Those are almost worthless, in my opinion. I searched it the other day, and they only take out like 30%. Well, there was different numbers, but one of the studies I saw, they were only taking out like 30% of the fluoride and the lead and the arsenic. So it's not worth it. It's worth it to spend the money, just like you would spend the money on a good set of pots and pans. Get a reverse osmosis water filter. Number 2 option, if you can't put something under your sink, is to get a Berkey, and people mentioned that below. Berkey, B-E-R-K-E-Y. They're big stainless steel gravity filters, meaning that the water drips down. They're awesome. I used them when we lived in an apartment in Vegas. Great option, and those cost a few $100s. And you can literally order one on Amazon. I'll put a link to a basic one. And I'll write a whole post on filters with more detail. But like I said, this is the least of your worries other than toothpaste. Yeah, it matters more if you're cooking more. Every loaf of bread you make, you're using a lot of water. So that's when it starts mattering, right? The more you cook. But you're going to be getting it out in the restaurants anyway if you're not cooking at home. So it is important, but it's not as important as the other. The third option for a fluoride filter is a whole house filter. And I'm reading about this bone char whole house filter. Those are awesome, and that's going to filter your whole house, your shower, everything. The shower, you know, that's the least of your worries compared to like drinking tea. It's so funny. It's like all these people online saying you should drink kombucha, but filter the fluoride out of your, your whole house. No, they got it backwards. Not that it's not ideal. It is. It would be great if we could just get all the fluoride out. It would be great if we didn't have it in our water to begin with. But we can only do what we can do, right? So, I'm looking at Heather's question. I wonder about aseptic coconut milk. I don't even know what that is. You have to tell me. I'm trying to see this in the sunshine. You have to tell me what that is. If anybody else has any questions, go ahead and ask them before I sign off. and I'm going to work on this video and this post. I'll have it up as soon as I can. I'm also going to work tonight. Hopefully tonight I'll have another live stream with my experiment on cod liver oil. It's going to be pretty interesting. Okay, Heather, you can ask me after. I'm all hot and sweaty now. I'm going to go in and have a glass of mint tea that I made with my reverse osmosis water instead of the Honest tea that I used to drink. Not putting any, I don't even mean to put Honest down. I think they're great. I think it's great that they try to make something organic. But like I said, Honest tea would be great. It would be so awesome if they made a fluoride-free tea, wouldn't it? We should all write them. Okay, guys, take it easy. Have a great rest of your day.